Non-dualism, also called non-duality, points to the idea that the universe and all its multiplicity are ultimately expressions or appearances of one essential reality. It is a term in concept used to define various strands of religious and spiritual thought. It is found in a variety of Asian religious traditions and modern Western spirituality, but with a variety of meanings and uses. The term may refer to Advaya, the non-duality of conventional and ultimate truth, or relative and absolute reality. Buddhist Madhyamaka, which says there is no absolute, transcendent reality beyond our everyday reality. Chinese Mahayana, but also Neo-Vedanta, which says that there is no absolute difference between the relative world and absolute reality. Advaita, the non-difference of Atman and Brahman or the Absolute. It is best known from Advaita Vedanta, but can also be found in Kashmir Shaivism. Popular teachers like Ramana Maharshi and Nisargadatta Maharaj, and in the Buddha nature of the Buddhist tradition. Non-dual consciousness, the non-duality of subject and object. This can be found in modern spirituality. Its Asian origins are situated within both the Vedic and the Buddhist tradition and developed from the Upanishadic period onward. The oldest traces of non-dualism in Indian thought may be found in the Chandogya Upanishad, which predates the earliest Buddhism, while the Buddhist tradition added the highly influential teachings of Sunyata, the Two Truths doctrine, the non-duality of the absolute and the relative truth, and the Yogacara notion of pure consciousness, or representation only. The term has more commonly become associated with the Advaita Vedanta tradition of Adi Shankara, which took over the Buddhist notions of anutpada and pure consciousness but gave it an ontological interpretation, and provided an orthodox hermeneutical basis for heterodox Buddhist phenomenology. Advaita Vedanta states that there is no difference between Brahman and Atman, and that Brahman is Ajatavada, unborn, a stance which is also reflected in other Indian traditions, such as Shiva Advaita and Kashmir Shaivism. Vinapta Matra and the Two Truths doctrine, coupled with the concept of Buddha nature, have also been influential concepts in the subsequent development of Mahayana Buddhism, not only in India, but also in China and Tibet, most notably the Chan and Dzogchen traditions. The Western origins are situated within Western esotericism, especially Swedenborgianism, Unitarianism, Transcendentalism and the idea of religious experience as a valid means of knowledge of a transcendental reality. Universalism and perennialism are another important strand of thought, as reflected in various strands of modern spirituality. New Age in Neo-Advaita, where the primordial, natural awareness without subject or object, is seen as the essence of a variety of religious traditions. Definitions. Dictionary definitions of non-dualism are scarce. According to Espen and Nikoloff, non-dualism points to the idea that the universe and all its multiplicity are ultimately expressions or appearances of one essential reality. The main definitions are the non-duality of Atman and Brahman, the non-duality of absolute and relative, and non-dual consciousness. Advaya and Advaita. A distinction can be made between Advaya and Advaita. Advaya refers to the non-duality of conventional and ultimate truth, or the relative world and the absolute. Advaita refers to the non-difference of Atman and Brahman. The related concepts of Vinapta Matra and Buddha nature in Buddhism, and 2. Non-dual consciousness. It is not just the knowing of this as information but the actual perception of what appears as life as that, not 2. The distinction between Advaya and Advaita was made by Murti in his classic work, The Central Philosophy of Buddhism, while non-dual consciousness is a Western, inclusive understanding of various strands of Eastern religiosity. Definition 1. Advaya, non-duality of the two truths. Non-duality of conventional and ultimate truth. Advaya is a non-essentialist, epistemological approach, which questions what we can know about reality. It states that there is no absolute, transcendent reality beyond our everyday reality. It also denies the existence of inherently existing things, or essences. Nothing has an inherent essence. According to this definition or usage, non-duality refers to the non-duality between absolute and relative. It is the recognition that ultimately everything is devoid of an everlasting and independent essence, and that this emptiness does not constitute an absolute reality in itself. It is a non-essentialist, or non-absolutist, position, denying any transcendent reality. It is exemplified by Madhyamaka Buddhism, and its insight into the emptiness, or non-existence, of inherently existing things, and the emptiness of emptiness. Emptiness does not in itself constitute an absolute reality. It is the middle way between eternalism and annihilationism or nihilism. Non-duality of absolute and relative reality. In Chinese Buddhism, the Two Truths doctrine was reinterpreted as an ontological teaching, positing the non-duality of two ontological levels of reality, namely phenomenal or relative reality, and absolute reality. Based on their understanding of the Mahayana Mahaparinirvana Sutra, the Chinese supposed that the teaching of the Buddha nature was, as stated by that sutra, the final Buddhist teaching, and that there is an essential truth above sunyata and the two truths of Madhyamaka. Definition 2. Advaita, identity of Atman and Brahman. Advaita is an essentialist, ontological approach, which states that there is transcendent absolute reality which constitutes our core identity, namely Brahman or Vijnana. According to this definition or usage, non-duality refers to Advaita, which means that there is no difference between Atman and Brahman or Vijnana, pure consciousness. It is an essentialist position, which asserts the existence of an absolute reality that transcends everyday reality. Vedanta and other Hindu traditions. Advaita is best known from the Advaita Vedanta tradition of Adi Shankara, who states that Brahman is pure being, consciousness and bliss. Only Brahman is real, the empirical world is unreal, appearance. Yet, Advaita Vedanta is closely related to Madhyamaka via Gaudapada, who took over the Buddhist doctrines that ultimate reality is pure consciousness. Shankara harmonized Gaudapada's ideas with the Upanishadic texts, and provided an orthodox hermeneutical basis for heterodox Buddhist phenomenology. Advaita has become a broad current in Indian culture and religions, influencing subsequent traditions like Kashmir Shaivism, Vinapta Matra and Buddha nature. In Buddhism, Vinapta Matra and the Two Truths doctrine, coupled with Buddha nature, have also been influential concepts in the subsequent development of Mahayana Buddhism, not only in India, but also in China and Tibet, most notable in the Chan and Dzogchen traditions. Definition 3. Non-dual consciousness. Non-dualism as a modern spiritual movement is a universalist or perennialist, and essentialist approach in Western spirituality. It blends Asian religions and philosophies with the perennial philosophy, attempting to transcend the fundamental differences between Advaita and Advaita. Various traditions are seen as grounded in a similar non-dual experience, which is expressed in different ways by different traditions. Non-dual consciousness is a primordial, natural awareness without subject or object. The idea of a non-dual consciousness has gained attraction and popularity in Western spirituality and New Age thinking. It is recognized in the Asian traditions, but also in Western and Mediterranean religious traditions, and in Western philosophy. David Loy sees non-duality between subject and object as a common thread in Taoism, Mahayana Buddhism, and Advaita Vedanta. Origins. According to Dasgupta and Mohanta, note that non-dualism developed in various strands of Indian thought, both Vedic and Buddhist, from the Upanishadic period onward. The oldest traces of non-dualism in Indian thought may be found in the Chandogya Upanishad, which predates the earliest Buddhism, establishing the identity of microcosm and macrocosm in the Vedic ritual offerings. Pre-sectarian Buddhism may also have been responding to the teachings of the Chandogya Upanishad, rejecting some of its metaphysics.